So let's talk about why we need privacy during our interviewing and interrogation sessions. Stay tuned for tip number 48 of 101 tips for interviewing and interrogation. Welcome back. Stan Walters with you here, and we're going to talk about tip number 48 of 101 tips on interviewing and interrogation. This session I want to talk about why privacy is important during your interviewing and interrogation sessions. In the past episode, we talked about the number of people in the interview room. And this is a little bit different. I want you to have a little bit different consideration here. I'm not talking about privacy also in situations where you're dealing with the person who has their attorney present, if it's a juvenile that is required or has a legal right to have a parent or guardian present, or someone who is of a diminished capacity, intellectual disability disorder, for example, who needs an advocate present. I'm not talking about those situations. I'm talking about who else is around and who can hear and observe the interview that doesn't need to be involved in the interview. Now, several things happen. For example, if you got a lot of extra people around, let's talk about the environment. Let's say, for example, you have a domestic violence call and you're standing in the front yard and you're talking to witnesses about what happened. First of all, you need to separate those witnesses and get them the heck out of the way, or you're going to wind up contaminating each other. And so you contaminate your case, contaminate their knowledge base, and they all start to agree. Follow? But also think about what is the message if those people see that person talking to you? Could it put them at risk? Could it compromise their feeling of being able to be open, to be confident, to be open with you, that someone else could hear? So if you, for example, if you've got a lot of friends around, you've got co-workers around, you have supervisors around, you've had spouses around, family around, they could, by their mere presence, be causing a problem to decrease or diminish the confidence a person has. They can talk to you privately. So get it out of those locations. You know, if you have to, put them in the back of the vehicle, go around the corner, go around to the other side of the house, go into a private room, close the door. Don't interview other employees or people in front of family and friends. That you're just going to wind up contaminating. Other problem is, in the discussions in this type, this information is now going to be out to the general public because you've got uncontrolled sources of information. There's some things that person in private may not want to talk about. Is afraid somebody else is going to pass it around. So think about the privacy situation. Now, another example, how many of you have, some of those Dilbert rat maze cubicle offices, with the 6-foot high walls or whatever around? Invoices carry and phone conversations carry. Well, think about, too, that those people are contaminating that noise, those distractions that contaminate and compete for your subject's focused attention. And our attention span is dropping. We've talked about that before, dropping down to as low as 7 to 10 seconds. So these distractions going on around the outside, movement through windows, people watching and so forth, winds up distracting your subject from concentrating on what they're doing, cause them to lose their place in the conversation. So think about, in that situation, taking the person, find an interview room, interview environment, isolate them in there. Now, of course, you're going to be recording, as I would recommend. If you have a second interviewer in the room, that's fine, but remember, maximum of 2, counting the subject, 3 altogether, but maximum 2 interviewers, no more than that. And think about when you send someone out to pick up an employee, for example, off the floor, warehouse floor. Send someone in to pick up the employee out of the middle of the store or the home. Who's doing that? And so that can also put the person in jeopardy of being confident that you're going to keep everything confidential. So think about the surroundings of the interview environment. Are there people or distraction or noises that can contaminate the conversation, lower the trust factor, lower the person's confidence that what they're saying is going to be held in confidence, that the conversations that you have won't be leaked through other sources, that you can wind up contaminating other sources who are in hearing shot or witness observe the interview. We're not doing anything illegal or immoral or unethical here. That's why the recording's going on. You have an extra witness in the room. But we want to keep that information as tight as possible and keep from contaminating the subject's behavior. So think about where you're setting up your internet environment, particularly when you're out in the field, and find those places where you can reduce the distraction and keep the privacy factor in mind. And there's some subjects that just aren't comfortable talking unless they're in a private location. So think about those in the future. Be sure to check in here with me here. Sign up for the YouTube channel if you've not done that, if you just dropped in and happened to catch this episode. Join me on the Live Guy list. Check out my website. Join the Live Guy list where you can find on-demand training or a very effective pocket guide that everyone loves. Other training sources there, the textbook, all available for you. Remember, we're working to make sure that you're the interviewer that becomes the go-to interviewer who gets the information. See you next time. We'll come back and we'll talk about tip number 49. This is Stan Walters. Be safe.